The demand for output from digital marketers is higher than it has ever been. You have to fill up social channels and email marketing and face-to-face and the traditional channels that you're still tasked with. It is a lot to keep up with. It is not easy. That is why today's Create Smarters focus all on a tool to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you, and that's Adobe Spark. I'm Phil with 5 Tool Productions. Today we're talking all about Adobe Spark, hopefully how that's going to help make things just a little bit easier for you. I live in this world with you as a digital marketer. It is not an easy thing to do to keep up with the demands that face you day to day. Whether it's an Instagram post that has to go out a couple times a day, tweets, promotions, filling up your Facebook page, all kinds of graphics that need to look like your brand, be in the same tone all the time, need to just be really visually appealing all the time, but the quantity is just so high. We're being looked at to post things at just such a high frequency that it's almost impossible to keep up with if you don't have a little bit of help from these tools. So, you know, most of us have these calendars that kind of outline what we're gonna post on which days, and that's great and you wanna stay organized. Sometimes when you look at them though, I mean, it's so much to fill, and you really just need to take a step back and say, how can I make good stuff at scale? And this tool for me has been really helpful in terms of figuring out some ways to do that. So let's get started. Adobe Spark is a web-based app. It's part of the Adobe family, but it's definitely a little bit simpler than some of the tools you're used to, like Premiere or definitely After Effects or Photoshop or a lot of these tools that you probably work with already. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You certainly don't need experience with those. If you have them, sure, it's gonna help, but again, you don't need it. There's a free and a subscription-based version of Adobe Spark. The free version, it's not that limited. The thing is, it's gonna miss out on some of the features you're probably gonna want in terms of really making it feel like your brand. If you have Creative Cloud though, the premium version is included in your Creative Cloud subscription. If you don't, it comes at a pretty low price tag, and I recommend really just going for that premium version. You should explore it a little on free first to make sure it's something you want to use, but I think you'll find it worthwhile. So there are 3 basic elements that you can create inside of Adobe Spark. You can create posts, you can create pages, and you can create videos. Let's dive in and explore a little bit more about each one of those now. First up is posts. When you want to create posts, you just click in and you can either start from scratch or you can use the brand that you've uploaded. Branding is one of those premier paid features that we talked about, and as you can see here for us, it's got your colors and some fonts already loaded in, so that's where you should start from. When you start from branding, you're automatically going to come in here and have a bunch of options of different templates and sizes from which you can start, which is a really just helpful, easy way. You don't have to be memorizing, you know, what the dimensions are for an Instagram story or a Facebook ad or a portrait. But if you did want to do a custom width and height, you can do that as well. Generally, you know, when you're posting for a network. You're creating for a lot of different networks. This is a great way to get started without having to memorize all of the different dimensions, which are constantly changing, by the way, and are really odd proportions in some cases, like this Facebook one, 1.91 to 1. Click it and you head on through. You can choose your own photos, which is a great feature here. You can have some photos ready to go, upload your own. There's also a really large free library to work from if you don't have your own photos, but you can see there's a ton of free photos to work from. You can search for those, insert your own, whatever you want to do in order to get started here. Make sure that you're, you know, selecting a photo that's kind of appropriate for the size and scale that you're going for here. You can pop a few in. You can see in this specific case we used 2 images, so it started us off with a template for 2 images. You can edit your text right off the bat. It's going to be within the brand standards that you've kind of set up already, but you can change that as you go as well. You can change the fonts that you want to work from. There's a whole slew of them in here. You can change the colors that you want to work from, update these as you go. You can add in elements, you can decide whether or not to have your logo in here, decide how opaque you want it to be. There's all kinds of customization you can do on the fly. And then of course beyond that, it's adding in additional custom elements. There's integration with the noun project, so you can add in icons, you can add in additional photos. You can add additional text. You can, apply filters to individual images, and these are based on your brand standards as well. You can make them larger and smaller. You can rotate them to fit. You can move things around within the frame. And then, of course, when you're done, you can share it directly to a connected social channel if you have them connected through Adobe, or you can just download them and then upload them directly. Download it as a JPEG, upload it back directly. Save it as whatever you want, and it'll automatically kind of drop it into your project bin so you can get back to it later. So of course, if you're really well versed in Photoshop or in InDesign, some of this might seem a little bit elementary and you might be worried that it's going to hold you back. That might be the case for your really big campaigns and your projects. This might not be something you want to use. This to me is more of a really quick, how can I churn something out that's really going to feel and look like something that fits in with my daily content calendar. Without spending a ton of time on it. You can go in, quickly log in, your brand elements are all already in here, and you can either use one of their templates so you know the sizing is all correct for an Instagram story or a Facebook post or a tweet, and all the media is constantly being updated so that the sizes are correct. Or you might get some inspiration from some of their templates too, and maybe you don't even actually build from the template, but you just see it and you get some ideas to go from it. They also have some of these design elements built in, icons and things like that, some nice fonts. Of course, again, for your large-scale campaigns, probably not how you're going to build out all your posts. This is to help fill your calendar on a day-to-day and maybe take 10 minutes to build something out instead of an hour. And that can make a really big difference. The second content element that you can create using Adobe Spark is the one that I actually think is the most useful and probably the coolest, and that's pages. If you have tried to build web pages from scratch as someone who is not a developer or who is not 100% keyed in on how to write code, it's a nightmare to make things actually look good. And Adobe Spark can solve a lot of those problems for you. You can basically build out these fully embeddable pages that just look really slick, really clean, can incorporate a lot of your different elements in terms of videos and photos and stat callouts, and you can almost build this whole kind of web page, obviously, which is how they're promoting it, really quickly and easily, and it'll look really nice in a way that people who aren't fully experienced in this field can't do without a little bit of help. So let's get into this one. Okay, so for the sake of this part of the demo, we're going to show you a page that we've already worked on a little bit. So you can see here we've got a page already built that we're going to go ahead and edit a little bit. So this is your edit mode for pages. You've got a title, a subhead, kind of a big bold image that works as your background, gets a little shading behind it. You've got your text editor, and you're allowed to do different types of headers based on your brand standards that are going to use the colors you said and the fonts you said that are going to differentiate the text really quickly and easily without any extra customization necessary. There's also just regular text blocks. There's also buttons you can add that can click back to your website. You can also add in photo grids, which are a little more advanced if you have a lot of photos. You can also just add in regular photos in different sizes. So it can be a window with a little caption. It can be full width. You can edit all this on the fly, by the way, which is really nice as well. You can also embed videos into these pages. And then, of course, you can share them out. And you can either use the Adobe Spark link directly, or you can use an embed functionality to put it back on your site. You put it on your site, it embeds clean, someone can open it up, and of course, it'll load right up here. Looks nice, simple, easy, scrolls through really nicely. So this is a really great way to quickly and easily spin up a page that looks really nice and has a lot of rich media elements without driving yourself crazy. Again, if you have a developer on staff, who has unlimited resources, more power to you. Most of us don't, and sometimes you have a campaign that needs a little bit more attention, and you wanna call out some of your video elements that are tied together, or your photos, or just all of these things that come together in a really nice, clean way. And Pages really allows you to do that. And again, even using WordPress themes or some of your custom code that's already built, you might have some templated elements built out. To me, again, this is another example of just something that you can do really quickly and really easily to up your game for a specific campaign a little bit. I use it all the time for things like photo showcases, and again, to kind of year-end wrap-ups, things like that, that'll allow you to pull together a lot of different elements and make sure it's going to look good on mobile, it's going to look good on a desktop, and you have complete control over it. All right, the final component of Adobe Spark that you may or may not use is the video feature. This part of it, I admittedly probably have not used as much as I've used the other two parts, simply because we create a lot more from scratch. That being said, there's a lot in there that can be really useful to you if you need to create something on the fly. You can use photo or video elements to build these out, and you can make some stuff that looks a little more professional than you can in a tool like, you know, Movie Maker or iMovie, that kind of a thing. So let's take a look at how this could help you out. For the video, we're also going to jump into something that we're already kind of mocked up for you, just so you can get a look and not go through the whole process. But you can see here, it's a really simple editor. It's based on sections that they refer to as slides. So you kind of can chunk it that way. You're not really worrying about really advanced video editing. You can add in additional slides, you can move them around, you can decide what your layout is going to be on each individual slide. You can decide whether it's going to be full screen, or if it's going to be a video, or if it's going to be a photo, and what's kind of going to go on each individual slide. You can delete them as you go. And it's a really simple little editor, but it can string together a quick little video for you without a lot of work. You can decide on the themes. There's some pre-built ones that are outside your brand. There's also based on your individual brand. You can also produce this in a square or in widescreen format, depending on where you want it to go. You can choose some different music choices. You know, kind of basic little music, but they're here. You can add your own music if you have it as well, if you don't want to use these kind of preloaded options. And you can go in and you can preview it. The idea, it kind of mixes your text in with your photos, and it kind of does some simple transitions for you and blends in with the music really simply. Just like with the posts, you can download it directly and then share it up to the network of your choosing. It's very simple, very easy, and it's definitely a quick way to get some video done without super advanced editing tools. So as you can see, there's some stuff here that can really take it from a really basic kind of choppy production to something that feels a little more elevated, add in a little bit more flair to something that may have otherwise been a little bit flat. And that can make a big difference when you're trying to catch people's eyes, especially with all the changes going on in algorithms on Facebook and across the rest of social, where it's increasingly difficult to get engagement. You need to make sure that all of your content is good. It's not just that you're out there, but it's good and it's engaging and it's gonna drive people to interact with you. So hopefully this tool can help you with that. All right guys, that's Adobe Spark. Hopefully you found some stuff in here of value. Get 20 or 30 minutes back in your day even. I know that can make just such a huge difference. For me, this is a way to just create a little bit more effectively, create good stuff at scale a little more effectively, and just fill up that calendar with stuff that's not junk. And I hope you feel the same way. Thank you so much for spending a little bit more time. This has been Create Smarter. I'm Phil. We will see you guys next time.